Hey guys, a very hot, sticky East Tennessee summer evening, hotter than literal balls. So I thought I would do a quick video on the bike. I just gave it a half an hour polish and I am just dripping sweat, terrible. But I wanted to give a quick update. So a couple weeks ago when I was leaving work, I kind of did a walk around and I noticed that my back tire, the belts were hanging out of the rubber. So I couldn't drive it anymore on that. I mean, I'm sure I could probably squeeze a couple more miles out of it, but it's really not worth the safety. So I stashed it away. I've been busy the last couple weeks, so I haven't been able to do it. Finally got to it the other day. I was going to make a video on how to change a tire, but I'm sure there's 50,000 videos on how to change a tire on YouTube, and I'm sure, most of them are better than anything I would make. And plus, it was really hot. It was like 90 degrees. I don't know. I was sweating my ass off the whole job. I took some stills, though, on things that may be relevant to this particular bike. And so I found a good place to jack these bikes up now. You can go buy a motorcycle jack. If you have an extra couple $100 you want to spend to do that, that's fine. That's cool. If I had the money, I would do it. I've had them in the past. You don't need them. All you need is a cheap car jack that you can get at Harbor Freight or anything like that. And I'll put a picture up where I decided to jack this guy up. But there's a little point back here. There's like this exhaust brace that comes down, and there's this little notch right here that the jack cupped right here, and it fit perfectly underneath there. Now on a motorcycle, if you ever need to jack them up, they're more stable than you would think, because it's almost like a tripod. You have your back tire, you have your front tire, and you have your kickstand. So if you go to the most extreme point of the frame, which in this case more or less is right here, and you start jacking up with a car jack, the bike will throw all its weight on the kickstand and that tire up there, and you can really jack them up high. If you feel uncomfortable jacking it up, just jack a little at a time. Go on the other side and pull it, and you'll be surprised how far you can lean that bike the other way and still have it stable, to the point where you'd really have to pull it if you wanted to tip it over. But it's if you don't want to do that and you want to get a bike stand and you have the money, feel free. But know that you can use a cheap jack stand or car jack that you can get from AutoZone or whatever. If you want to get the back wheel off the ground, go to the most extreme portion of the frame, jack it up. All the weight will be thrown to those 2 points, and you can get the back tire off, with ample room to pull the wheel out. And if you want to get the front tire off, go to the most forward portion that you can get a jack on, jack it up, and then all the weight will be thrown to the kickstand and the rear wheel, and it works out really good. And I'll share some pictures how far you can lean these. It's pretty amazing. Let's see. So what's important on this bike to know is down here, super simple. I did have to take the saddlebag off. I couldn't do it with the saddlebag on. I was trying it, but messing around with the brake caliper and everything, I said, really, is it worth it? The extra aggravation. So I did take that off. There's one bolt there, a nut, and you're going to get that nut off. And I want to say it's a 22 or 23 millimeter. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. But you want to go ahead and pull that off. That's the first step. Then when you get over to this side here, I know it might be tricky to see. There's a nut here, or a bolt here. You're going to want to loosen that up. And what that does is clamp the axle in place so it doesn't slide out. Then once you loosen this up, you go on the other side and you pop it out with a mallet. You just give it a couple bumps. Obviously, you're going to make sure the wheel's off the ground a little bit. And go ahead and pull that out all the way. And then at first, don't lose the washers or the spacers. There's a little washer that goes in front of the brake caliper right here, and there's a spacer that goes right back here. Now when you pull this shaft out, the washer will definitely drop. The spacer probably will stay in there, but you're going to want to make sure you keep an eye on that because it will fall out. It's not secured in there. You're going to also want to take the brake caliper off before I guess you should probably do that first. And it's one bolt here. It's so hard to see. One bolt there. If you can see this. And then What I did to make it easier is the brake line attaches down to the frame right here, and if you take that out, it'll give you enough so you can take a bungee cord and strap back the calipers so you have some room to work. Pop the wheel out, and that's about it. Like I said, I don't know, I'm not going to make a tire change video. You can go watch some other guy do that. I do use balancing beads. I don't use the traditional balancing. I used to. It really doesn't make a difference. I use these beads, and I've been using them, and they work really well. In the back of this wheel, I think it was like a 2 ounce. This is a Dunlop D404 170 80 15 on this one, and that's the factory tire. I just got the same thing, 77H. So to put it back together, you just kind of do the opposite. The only thing I will say it's important, torque everything down, you know, snug. But this one here, if you needed to know, that nut is a 65 pounds of torque. Normally I don't worry about torque too much when you're doing this kind of things, but with that, it's pretty important. So if you don't have a torque wrench, it's pretty snug. Now don't be one of these guys that take leverage bars and crank it and make it super tight, because all you're going to do is just screw up everything. Which brings me to my next point. I don't know why people over torque bolts so much on anything. I've been a bike mechanic and a car mechanic forever, and the biggest thing I notice that causes the most problems is people over torque things. For example, and this bike wasn't like that. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. Drain plug, you know, to drain your oil. All you have to do is take a, you know, 1/4 inch drive, put the nut on there, crank, 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 snug, leave it. For some reason, you get these guys that get these 1/2 inch drives, you know, and they pull and tug like they're holding the engine in with the drain plug. Don't do that. It doesn't need to be that tight. Same goes for the air filter. When you're putting the air filter on, just snug it down. That's all you have to do. A little twist. When it heats, and you know, once it heats up, gets cold, and the metal contracts and expands, it'll get tight anyway. So don't over torque bolts on anything, cars, anything, lug nuts. I don't know why people do this. My biggest pet peeve is over torquing. Now, I'm not saying make it loose, but snug, just snug. You shouldn't have to put much leverage or force into anything on these things. Quick update on the Chinese windshield extender. I've had this on here about a year now. I think I talked about it a little bit before, but one thing that did happen, there's these little bolts, and I was riding, and it just kind of fell off. And then about a 1/2 mile later, the other one fell off, and it was just kind of hanging there. So I just took zip ties and kind of put it back there, and it's not great. I really strapped them down, but it's not 100%. But I'm really hot, guys. I don't want to do any more of this video. That's all I've done is look at this bike for 2 days. I did get a GoPro, so in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing some POVs from, let's see, I'll probably hit the Devil's Triangle first, just because it's here in Oliver Springs, or I believe it's Oliver Springs. Or I might do the Tail of the Dragon. I'm not sure which one I'll do first, but I'm definitely going to do both. I'm not going to talk through the whole things. I'm not going to play annoying music through the whole things. I'm just going to just let you listen to the V-twin as they're screaming through the hollers. It'll be cool. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. So that should be up in the next few weeks. So if you haven't, like and subscribe, especially if you have 1100 Shadow Sabre. American made. They're American made bikes. They're made in Ohio. If you have one, you know, hopefully something I tell you could be useful. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. I did have a comment the other day about the tank bib. You know, somebody on there said that these will, you know, could ruin the paint on your tank. And he has a good point. If I lived in a really dusty area, if I lived out west or anything like that, I probably would stay away from a tank bib. I mean, they look cool, but you're going to accumulate a lot of dust under these things, and it's going to potentially scratch your tank. If you're not careful, you could dump gas, and all kinds of bad things could happen with those on there. I think, for the most part, in the climate here, with as much riding as I'm doing and the care I take, you know, any damage I would cause under there would be innocuous at best. So I'm not really sweating that. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.